Take that. Hey, good evening and welcome to another season of Feldco Football Recap Live with the great Olin Kreutz, the great Tom Waddle. I'm David Kaplan. Bears are 1-0. That's a good thing. The offense wasn't great. That's not such a good thing. Let's get started, gentlemen. A great night to be with both of you, and it is our Four Seasons game recap for all the right reasons. Four Seasons. Okay, I've been listening to you guys do your various platforms. I've talked to you both on the phone. So, Olin, the offense was a big-time struggle. Struggle. But the defense, like we've seen for so many years with the Bears, special teams, they make plays when they have to, and the Bears find a way to win a football game. What was your biggest takeaway from what you watched on Sunday?
Yeah, you just summarized it perfectly, right? I almost wanted some money. I thought I had that market cornered on how to win games, right? So I think they stole our formula about no offense, defense, special teams, the punt block, right? Eberflus with his great adjustments in the second half. Coach Eberflus, I don't know, you guys probably talked about all the week, Tom, but elite, right? Really is an elite. He's always the head coach. He's an elite defensive coordinator. You can tell when he calls plays, when he makes adjustments at halftime. He is a step ahead, man. He does a really, really nice job. Now, as far as the offense goes, when you study Denard Wilson a little bit, when you watch the Bears play the Bengals with their multiple fronts, multiple looks, hiding coverages, the Bears didn't look too good in that preseason game. Denard Wilson with his Greg Williams. People watching the show, you can look up the defense coordinator, Greg Williams' background, Todd Bowles' background. You got a little bit worried, right? You got a little worried about what Caleb was about to see in his first game. And then you watch things like on Hard Knocks, and Caleb says, "Oh man, I thought the game is easier than practice." And I'm thinking, no, I want to whisper, no, it's not. I want to whisper that. No, it's not. And Coach Eberflus agreeing with them, but a lot of good things on film for them to get better with, and it's a win.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Olin says. I will say this. It may have been the formula for you in years past, Olin, but I never saw anyone truck your ass the way that I saw a couple.
Now he did get tripped on that play. Now, he did struggle a little bit.
You're right. No question.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I think that, what do they say? A win is a win is a win. They're not all aesthetically beautiful. Some are prettier than others. But at the end of the day, I think one of the hallmarks of a good football team is finding a way to win when you don't have your best stuff. And I think we all agree that offensively, they didn't have their best stuff. And defensively, I'll argue as well. And I love what Olin said about the halftime adjustments coming out in the second half. You guys do realize in the first half, they gave up 164 yards and 17 points. Like the Titans were running the football right down their throat. In the second half, they came out. They held the Titans to 55 yards and 0 points. They took the ball away 3 times.
Never crossed the 50, Tommy.
I mean, and they made plays on defense and they made plays in special teams. And at the end of the day, as I said, when you are considered or you are expecting to be considered a good football team, you've got to find ways to win games even when you don't have your fastball. I think also, guys, somebody asked me yesterday, what is your concern level with Caleb? I said, it's zero. It's no different than it was when the season kicked off. I was one that believed that, I live a measured life. I don't get too high or too low. I know you don't subscribe to that theory, but I think that you have to understand there's going to be a roller coaster ride for this young quarterback. And, what Olin says is 100%. Anyone who believes that the regular season is anything like the preseason is whacked. I mean, it's completely different. You're not playing against the 2s and 3s against the Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. And you didn't know what you were really going to get from the Titans defensively. And it's the first time Caleb has faced ones, and it's the first time a defense is game planned for him. So I'm not surprised that there were some hiccups. I'm not going to lie, though. You have to be self-aware. I didn't expect it to look that bad on so many fronts. But again, W's are W's.
Olin, did you have – I know the game is a little different in terms of the size of some of these guys. Did you ever face a guy –
Wait. Let's back up. What do you mean by that?
I don't remember the number of guys that were 370, 300.
So you don't remember Ted Washington? You don't remember Pat Williams?
Yeah,
you don't remember Vince Wilfork? You don't remember Gilbert Brown?
Keith Traylor.
Yeah, I'm just like the guys were like the guys are not bigger, but go ahead.
Okay, I don't like with William Perry when he was playing at. They said he.
Oh, okay. So I played in the 2000s. I don't know if you know that. I didn't play in '85.
Correct.
To your point, Cap, I played with William. William was a teammate. I believe William at that time, Olin, just to highlight Cap's point, I believe he was only one of 3 guys back in the early 90s that weighed 300 pounds. But the game changed drastically over the next decade.
Yeah, that's my point. Did you ever, college, pro, face a 370-pound guy that you had to block all day long? Because I know you had 2 as teammates. Pat Williams, I guess, would be the one you had to go up against. What is that challenge like?
Vince Wilfork, Casey Hampton, Sean Rogers. They were all 370 pounds, Cap.
They were that big?
You don't remember these guys?
I remember them. I just didn't realize.
Olin does.
Listen. In Buffalo, in 2001 in Buffalo, Ted Washington was the starting nose guard. You know who his backup was? Pat Williams.
Ouch.
That's where Pat Williams came from. Okay. So anyway, going past the point, it's hard. It's hard, and you got to get your hands inside, and you got to battle them, and you got to use speed, you got to use head placement, and you got to fight them. It was interesting to me because when I was watching the Bears, Cap, I was just talking to someone about this today. They were like backing up to block this guy, right? Devondre Carter. Like you have to make him move side to side. Now here's something about Carter. Sweat. I'm sorry. Here's something about him when I watched the film in preseason. He is a good hand fighter. He's a really good player, man. I mean, like here's the thing I thought about. I watched him in a preseason game, and I thought, man, when they put this guy with Jeffrey Simmons, this is going to be a handful for the Bears. And I worried about it from then. And people keep talking about Coleman Shelton. He beat the hell out of Tevin Jenkins now. He beat Tevin Jenkins every time he went against him. This guy was a handful to go against, Cap. So you're right. The guy is a big man who moves fast, but you're also wrong. Like we've seen that a lot. That size, that weight, that speed coming at you. These guys now, he may be eventually elite, right? He might be elite already.
So if I said to you, I'm going to put a really talented, quicker guy, nowhere near the size, but elite athlete, elite speed, or you get a guy like Devondre Sweat, Pat Williams, Vince Wilfork, one of those, which would you, neither one's desirable, but which one would you rather block?
Well, it all depends on what kind of offense you're in. Like, remember when I played, interestingly enough, I was a smaller center who used speed and quickness and leverage. I only played in a power running offense, right? That's all I played in through that's all the Bears ever were. Like when we played Pat Williams, we ran downhill at him, right? When we played Vince Wilfork in New England, I remember going to the game and Harry Hiestand telling me, okay, we're going to give you him one-on-one and we're going to release for the linebackers. So like it just depends on what kind of – I'd rather run like when Gary Crowton came, we spread the field and ran screens. I was right down the field and hitting DBs. I'd rather do that at a 290-pound center. But that doesn't mean Sweat's unblockable. It doesn't mean you can't reach him on outside zone. Actually, Coleman Shelton reached him a couple times on outside zone. I remember early in the game when Swift was running for 6 yards a carry, he had 6 yards, 1 yard, and then he had 6 yards again. Coleman Shelton reached him easily on outside zone. And that's why they were trying to run at Arden Key early off the left side off of Braxton Jones, and they were doing a nice job. I just thought they went away from it a little bit too early.
Let me ask Olin a question about the right guard. Olin, when you watch what they're doing with Nate Davis and they're with Ryan Bates, how do you solve that problem?
Yeah, it's almost like if you have 2, you don't have 1, right? Like what do you mean you can't decide who your right guard is? So on that play on Caleb Williams, he took a 19-yard sack, right? It was 2nd and 20. I think it looked to me like, guys, that Waldron was trying to run a fake outside zone boot screen back to Swift.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like to me. Now on boot, the right guard has to cover the center's hip, right? Like and Sweat came backside, and the right guard has to hit him there. Well, Davis ran right by him, like tickled him. And I'll be honest with you, I'm an O-line coach. If I see that, I may go to my guy behind him too.
Yeah.
right? Like my question is, what the hell are you doing right here? So the whole story about, well, hold on. You paid this guy $10 million, but you wanted to rotate at the right guard position. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it. I ain't buying it because you benched him right after that play. Right. And I put my film on my Twitter page. It's there for everybody to see. Right. Like you can't do that in the NFL. So Coach Eberflus has been challenging him a little bit this year. Saying some things out there in the newspaper. Tommy, you know better than me. Yeah. When a coach has to go to the media, he's on his last leg.
Yeah.
Right. That means that means the player's not listening.
Yeah, I found it. I mean, look, I think Eberflus is always going to protect his guys, but to say, hey, we're going to work both of these guys in here, I thought that was a straight out benching. I don't know that to be the case, but for the reasons you mentioned, Olin, I thought that at that point they just got tired of it and they said, we're going to play with Bates. Going forward, how do you solve that? Because I would assume, now look, I don't know that they'll face another front that's as difficult as the one they faced on Sunday. You could probably,
They will. Yeah, they will. The Lions got a good front. Man.
Yeah, they do. How do you go about trying to be more secure, especially when you have a rookie quarterback?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I talked about this after the game when I was in New Orleans when they had Drew Brees. You guys remember they would really beef up the inside of their offensive line, right? They had Jari Evans, they had Carl Nix. They always wanted to be big and strong, and they would even when I was there, they would tell us, we want you almost what they call it like a jump and creep set, where we're like keeping guys on the line of scrimmage because Drew could take the guys running around the edge. He couldn't take inside pressure because of his height. So eventually Ryan Poles may have to build his line like that. He may have to put the better guys inside. Right, he may have to get all pros and put them inside. They would pay the Saints were actually different. They'd pay their inside guys and not their outside guys. They were more important to Drew because of his height.
Let me ask you, like Ryan's an offensive lineman, and Ryan's done a lot of really good things.
Is he? I seen his pass set on the Hard Knock. No, I just playing.
But seriously, like they did this with Lucas Patrick last year because of the familiarity with Luke Getsy. It feels like they've done this with Shelton.
You get what you pay for, as my friend Olin has told me.
Yeah, but like, how does a group that is so good identifying upgrades at different spots, and with like Ian Cunningham's a former offensive lineman as well, look at the interior of their offensive line and say, hey, we're good with that. That's one thing that just I struggle to comprehend at times.
Yeah, I listen, Nate Davis by far is their best right guard. Yeah. When you watch the film, when he's playing, I think they went right back to him because Jeffrey Simmons did a shake bull rush and ran Bates right over.
Yeah.
Right. So they're like, oh man, we can't just leave Ryan Bates there. Right. And Nate Davis can't play. And they're hoping maybe they got across to him by the benching. But look, I looked at this the other day. I think when Mahomes got to Kansas City, they got Creed Humphrey like 3 or 4 years later. Right. And then they signed Joe Toon. And anyway, and I think we have to remember here in Chicago that they still are in the building. He's in his rookie season, right? They got a few other pieces and maybe the plans to get it later. But why they won't get a center, why they won't get a high-level guard, I don't know. We all thought, man, they were going to go this year and get somebody in the middle there to play center for them that was on the free agent market, or they were going to draft somebody. But they skipped them every year in the draft, and they skipped it again this year. And it sure looked like in week 1 here, they paid for it.
Yeah, and to me, Cap, it feels real quick. It feels like that is a mistake considering like last year you have a young quarterback and this year you have the first pick of the draft, a young quarterback. And these guys are affected, especially those that are vertically challenged. They're so much more affected by the pressure that's coming in front of them from the edge. It just A plus B isn't equaling C for me, I guess.
All right, time for our Apt Electronics player of the game. It's Daryl Taylor. He had a monster day today, on Sunday. Daryl Taylor's numbers were ridiculous. When you look at the number of sacks, tackles, 7 solos, 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, a forced fumble. So he is our Apt Electronics player of the game. For your favorite game day snacks, a new Whirlpool range is the perfect choice for best appliances for football season. Shop where I shop at apt.com. Apt pleasing people since 1936. Okay, they acquired this guy at the end of camp. he was a freaking monster, guys. Like a huge impact in the game. What'd you guys think of him?
I listen, I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was a guy that had the greatest impact on that defensive line. I think what teams are going to do going forward, and teams have done in the past, is I think if he's out there, you're going to try to run right at him and try to take the steam out of him. But the thing I love about him most is like the energy he plays with. He has a high motor. He doesn't stop. And what he may lack in terms of weight in his ass to play the run, he makes up with, the effort that he gives. So it's look, you got to have someone on the other side of Sweat. And at least for 1 week, this guy certainly delivered on what they gave up for him.
What'd you think?
Yeah, Montez Sweat got chipped all game, right? I mean, they are really zeroing in on this guy right now. And, that inside pressure from a 3 technique and whoever's playing knows just not there right now. So signing this guy, right, and not counting on the other guys to get pressure was huge for them in this game, right? J.C. Latham, the rookie left tackle for the Titans, really struggled with that outside pressure with the crowd noise and silent count. And obviously, guys, I mean, Will Levis is literally dropping outside the pocket. Like, I don't even know what the hell he's doing, right? So, but yes, big. I probably went with T.J. Edwards, a guy who played every down as player of the game. But if we want to go with Taylor, yes, I mean he did affect the game with his pass rush. That's for sure.
I think to Olin's point too, boy, T.J. Edwards is such a fantastic player. I mean, I think one of the things that is so good about this defense, whether it's Edmonds or it's Edwards, one-on-one tackling, they very infrequently miss tackling.
It's amazing. Man,
it really is. It really is.
I called my son, who's a linebacker in Illinois, and I was like, go in your building and watch this T.J. Edwards film. It was impressive. He called me right back. He goes, Dad, that is one hell of a game he played.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the quote yesterday when Brian Callahan, the head coach down there, met with the media. He literally started his press conference, couple comments, and then said, if we would have just punted the football every possession the second half, we'd be standing here 1-0.
Cap, it's a good
furious
point
with his quarterback.
Look, it's a good point, and I would say, as much as I love the win and other things, if you bring that same level of play or that same approach to Houston, you're going to lose by 3 scores. I mean, you just can't. You got to be more dialed in for 60 minutes on defense and offensively. This is a game too where I think, guys, you're going to have to demand that your offense delivers certainly more than they did this past game, but even more than would normally be expected because, that Texans passing game is added Stephon Diggs. They've added in the running game Joe Mixon, so they're a balanced attack now. It's going to be a really good challenge for this defense, which means the offense has got to play some complementary football and have a contribution.
My favorite part, Captain Tom, was Will Levis, right before that he threw that interception, he was screaming at his offensive line. So if you're going to scream at people, this always happened to me, Tom. I don't know about you. I would scream at someone like, don't effing jump off sides. And the next play, guarantee I jumped off. That's some kind of false start for sure.
I didn't scream at anybody, Olin. It would have been well received.
Our Dr. Pepper play of the game. This one's easy. Tyreek Stevenson pick 6 that won the football game on the Will Levis little flip. I don't know what he was thinking there. Just live to fight another day, but he decided to try and make a flip. I don't know if he's trying to get it out of bounds, if he's trying to get it to the receiver that's chasing Tyreek Stevenson, but that is our Dr. Pepper play of the game. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm watching it, guys. All of a sudden, I'm like, no way. Pick that off. Bam. Gone the other way.
You know what? As much as Caleb struggled, the one thing I can say is that there were no catastrophic mistakes. He took care of the football. There was the one ball he threw in the middle of the field that got tipped in the air, and they were very fortunate it wasn't intercepted, but they took care of the football.
By the way, my coconut zero sugar Dr. Pepper.
It was crazy about the sequence of events, right? Like, remember, Will Levis, he misses Calvin Ridley down the sideline.
Yep.
For a touchdown, right? He ran right. I mean, that guy can run. He ran right by Tyreek Stevens. That was a crazy run. I mean, Tom, you could talk about that. And then they blocked the punt.
I can't run like that. But you're right. Like, that's a play that, Olin, you're right. That's a play that's got to be made.
Made, man. Yeah. And then right after that, they blocked the punt.
Yeah.
And then they come out and throw an intercept. I mean, it was just the event. It was crazy to watch that game unfold. And you knew once they're going to pick six, you're thinking this defense is not going to let them score. Again, the game's over.
Yeah.
You guys are talking about that play. The block punt is our special teams play of the game, brought to you by our great partners at Special Olympics Illinois. When voices tell us you can't or you won't, we simply say, I did. Special Olympics Illinois. So I did. Learn more at SOILL.org. So that block punt, Daniel Hardy, who, again, I don't know if you can believe Hard Knocks. Maybe you can't believe Hard Knocks. I don't know. But that was the storyline. Is this guy going to make the team? Is this guy on the bubble? I thought he earned his way on the football team as hard as he played and as active as he was in the preseason. That was a phenomenal block punt. And then there's Jonathan Owens. And he was telling Kevin Byard here on the channel yesterday, I picked it up and I looked around and went, this is too easy. Gone. See you later.
Listen, when you're one of the fringe, trust me, when you're one of the fringe guys, if you can't contribute on special teams, you're not going to find a home. So as much as he was a standout player on defense in the preseason, again, if you mistake the preseason or you don't find the difference between the preseason and the regular season, I don't know what to tell you. It's a significant jump up, but for him to be able to contribute on special teams, fantastic.
Olin, how much did you play in the preseason when you were playing like in your prime?
And then in them days, it was almost set, right? I think we played 2 series. The first game, we came out, played that up to half, and then we played up to half in 1 series in the third quarter.
Wow.
So we played, and then the fourth game, we played 1 series. And that was almost my whole career. But there was 1 year where I was out. And we were playing the Bengals, and Dick LeBeau was the head coach. And I think 3 centers got hurt. And I was eating sunflower seeds. I actually had a hot dog and 2 beers at halftime. But lucky thing, I was like 25, and they told me to go back in. I couldn't be any happier, Tom. You know what I mean? They're like, it was overtime. I got to look at the year. It was overtime against the Bengals. They're like, Olin, we don't have any other centers. I was so happy, man. I was like 24, 25 years. I couldn't wait to get out there. And I was playing against the backups. And so I drove the nose guard. I don't know how far I drove him, but I ended up out of bounds on the Bengals sideline. And I was talking trash about and they were yelling at me like, Olin, you shouldn't even be in the game. And I swore at Dick LeBeau. They caught me on TV, and they fined me like $15,000 for swearing at the head coach on TV.
Oh, wow. That's a tremendous story.
I was so happy. I had sunflower seeds in my mouth. They're like, Olin, you're in. I was like, thank goodness. This can't be any more boring over here.
I would say, though, that I think the point I don't know, maybe this wasn't the point you're making, though, Cap, but the amount of activity that you're getting leading up into the regular season, I would bet, though, Olin, in practice, you guys were grinding it out.
Oh, yeah. Well, you were kind of like, I didn't go to 1 a day to my 9th year, right? Like Lovey didn't change it into our 9th year. So ours wasn't as jam-packed as yours was, Tom, but we were going like 14 in a row. Right. Like the amount of padded practice they do now, we did that in 1 week.
Yeah.
Right. Like we didn't have a day off. So it was tape at 7:30, on the field by 8, practice, eat lunch, go to meetings, tape at 3:30, on the field, full pads again, right? 9 on 7, inside run, 11 on 11. So, and I'm not saying that was the way to do it. I'm just saying, yeah, we were getting our pad set, our pad level. We were getting our targets. We were doing a lot of work before we got to that first game. But sometimes that's why you got hurt later in the year. But when you watch these teams now, the one thing I thought about when I was watching the Bears play was when they watched that film in practice, when they watched that film in preseason, they weren't being extremely honest with themselves about what really worked in the regular season. Maybe sometimes you can't convince a young quarterback what actually works, what he's actually going to see. Like, Tom, when you're in practice, you're like, man, that's not going to work. Like, that's not like that. Like, I would tell nose guards, like, you got to go hard. Like, you got to give me this look. You got to slap my hands down. You got to try to push me back because I'm not going to see that in the game. I have to get ready to play the game. So there is a point where, some guys watch film and some guys see what's on film. They have to be able to see what's actually on film to get their offense moving in the right direction. And there has to be some honesty. But I don't know how you guys felt, but when I turned the film on, I thought to myself, man, this isn't like years before. There's dudes on that film. Like Keenan Allen's a dude, man. Yeah. DJ Moore is a dude, bro. Swift. Keenan Allen, he's an artist. I mean, that guy's something else when he runs routes.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're a significantly more talented team than they were before. I got to be honest. I was very surprised to see how inaccurate that Caleb was, because I think it's one of the hallmarks of his game. I know he said in one of the episodes of Hard Knocks he doesn't get nervous. I don't know if it was nerves, but I don't know how you guys feel watching him play. Could have been that. And I think whether your nerves are getting to you or you're overamped, I think especially for a quarterback, your mechanics break down. And I think, I give you 5 plays that, and I get it, ifs and buts, candies and nuts, but if you're trying to put a bow tie on a cow pie with regard to this,
this show just got so good, man.
I give you 5 plays, okay?
Okay.
Mounting up to Keenan Allen. I'm shocked that ball wasn't complete, because if you go back and you look at what Caleb Williams has done in his career at the collegiate level, and even in training camp, if you've watched practice, his deep ball accuracy is spot on. It really is. And that's a play that I was shocked to see not go well. If you want to continue on that theme, the throw to DeAndre Carter is the same thing. DeAndre Carter later in the game has a step on the cornerback, and once again, Caleb overthrows him, which I'm a little bit surprised. I'm surprised that Keenan Allen drops the ball in the end zone. Like, Keenan Allen's a borderline Hall of Famer. Keenan Allen probably isn't going to drop a ball in the end zone for the remainder of his career, right? So, you look at that play. You look at the play that that Keenan ran a little bit later in the red zone, where he had a slant, beats the corner, Caleb recognizes it, gets rid of the football, and because 53 does block, and this is the play Olin's talking about, where Shelton gets tripped, and then Shelton's in Caleb's lap, and the ball gets tipped, that's a touchdown. If you can get that guy's hands down, that's a touchdown. And then there's a sail route that Keenan Allen runs later in the game as well. And, Kari Blasingame, who's a really good football player, doesn't get enough of the blitzing safety or cornerback. And it's a 25-yard gain that doesn't happen because of – the point I'm making is again, ifs and buts. But these are 5 examples of plays of, let's just say 3 of them hit, guys. Let's say, and it's all player error.
It's a different game.
All shit that'll get cleaned up because it's week 1, right? If you get 3 of those plays, we're feeling better about this team, aren't we? So
100%.
When people say, how concerned are you? Yeah, I mean, I have concerns. I've had concerns about the interior of their offensive line for a year and a half now. But I'm not concerned that stuff I know can be corrected and stuff I know that, some of that stuff was an anomaly. I think a lot of that stuff will be corrected.
Let's get the Caleb Williams numbers. It's called Caleb Williams Winging It. It's brought to you by our great partners at Hooters. Originality isn't just one thing, it's everything. World-famous wings and more served up by the iconic Hooters girl. Hooters, always original. We'll be doing 5 of these shows, remotes at a Hooters near you. Stay tuned for details. 14 of 29, 93 yards, no tutties, no picks. Ran for 15 yards. He did have one run, Olin, where I thought fourth quarter he could have thrown the ball away, and he took off and picked up, I think, 7 yards, and it got them in field goal range, and Cairo Santos banged through a field goal to get it to 17-16. So what was your takeaway from what, and you've been direct and honest in all our conversations when you've watched Caleb Williams about the growth you need to see. What was your takeaway?
I thought, Tom asked if he doesn't get nervous. What would you say? I thought he was sped up, right? I thought that the game sped him up a little bit. I thought the different looks, the different formations, calling plays, you could see they were trying to get him comfortable, and he wanted to get going, right? And I think Tom Brady talked about this, where these guys are running systems now, not actually learning how to play the game, right? It's just Shane Waldron was trying to get him comfortable. The really nice ball he threw to DJ Moore, I think it was 2nd and 14. he threw that ball to DJ Moore, but he puts everybody on one side and clears up the vision for him, right? Really spread the field, clear everything up, put a motion on there. Is it man? Is it zone? And then I'm catching, just throw one of his favorite routes probably. So I think, but that, like we all know, because the defense and everyone on defense is so fast and everybody in the NFL is so good, spreading them out and getting to your best athletes doesn't always work, right? You have to execute plays. You actually have to sit there in the pocket. You got to go through your progressions. You got to take what the defense is giving you. Now, to Tom's point, the Bears have weapons where he can take what the defense is giving him, right? But he was like, yeah, it's his first game as a rookie quarterback. He was late with the ball. He wasn't seeing the field. A couple of times across the middle, Rome Odunze, he threw the ball behind him. He threw it late. He was waiting to throw the ball. Like we're talking about, you expect people say from game 1 to game 2 is your biggest jump. Lovey used to say that. Jim Harbaugh said that to his team after the game. Those are things you're looking for this week is little improvements. Big challenge this week down there in Houston on the road. I wouldn't expect that big of a jump, but I'd like to see him a little more accurate, like Tom's saying about now. When he did miss Keenan Allen, again, Sweat beats Tevin Jenkins pretty bad. He's throwing that ball off his back foot. You can always find excuses, right, for why he didn't make the throw. But here's the deal. You're the number one pick in the draft. You're the multiplier. We need you to be not week 2, but at some point. At some point, I think Ryan Poe says when special time comes, it's time to be special. So I saw Cap basically what I told you I saw when I watched the preseason game, right? I saw a quarterback who needed a lot of improvement, and I think it's hilarious that Bill Belichick says something, and everyone shakes their head. Right? I think that's hilarious. Bill Belichick told you what he saw on film. He told you he was inaccurate. He told you he was 50%. He told you his plays weren't really special when he watched them. And everybody said, Bill Belichick. He's losing. He's got a 20-year-old girlfriend. He's 70 years old. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
The best. All right, we got to take a timeout. We'll come back more with Olin, with Tommy, right here on Feldco Football Recap Live. Be right back. Feldco Football Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco. For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866-4FELDCO, Chicago's home renewal experts. Your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers, the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Hooters. At Hooters, originality isn't just one thing, it's everything. World-famous wings and more, served up by the iconic Hooters girl. Hooters, always original. Dr. Pepper, an American original, just like our Chicago Bears. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Special Olympics Illinois. Special Olympics Illinois, so I did. Learn more at SOILL.org. Apt. For the best appliances for football season, shop at Apt. Pleasing people since 1936. Find them at apt.com. Four Seasons, heating, plumbing, air conditioning, and electric. For all the right reasons, Four Seasons.
Fall is just around the corner. Let the experts at Feldco get your home ready for the cooler temps ahead. Right now, buy one window, get one free. Plus, no interest for 3 years. It's the perfect time to make valuable upgrades to your home and save more money in the process. Our custom windows are built in the U.S. to the highest standards and made to withstand the harsh Midwest weather. Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866-4FELDCO.
All right, here is our Chevy Drive of the game, Chevy Drive, Chicago.com. Getting points after you had already gotten a punt block to get you back in the football game, and then they drive it down. It is a 11-play, 44-yard drive in the third quarter. They make the field goal from Cairo Santos. It makes it 17-13, and now, guys, you start to feel better. All right, back in it. They got the punt block. Olin, I remember in 2006, you gave a famous speech that everyone has talked about in the game against Arizona. Here is an amazing stat from since the year 2000. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. Since the year 2000, teams that were down 17 or more and never scored an offensive touchdown were 2 and 306 until Sunday. Now 3 at 306. And that was you guys were one of those.
It's the voodoo, man. That's a bear.
That is unbelievable.
And that game we just watched was just as crazy as the game we played it. It was just, you didn't think any way the Bears were going to win. As Coach Callahan said, right? If he would have just punted, they might have won the game. And like you said, they went on that drive. I think they went to a little bit of no huddle. We're talking about getting Caleb comfortable, right? That's the one I think he rushed for that. It was 3rd and 10. He got the first down. They went a little no huddle. They got the ball out quick out of his hands. A lot of USC concepts to get him comfortable, right? So eventually he has to learn what to do. But yeah, I mean, it was just it was, people keep saying there's nothing, it was an abysmal performance by the offense. There's no you can't put it any other way, really.
I think there's one play in that game I think that kind of summarized or was emblematic of the entire 3.5 hours, and that was the throw he made to DJ that should have been picked. Mm-hmm. It bounces up in the air, that Rome jumps up and makes this tremendous grab right. and fumbles. And then God bless Tevin Jenkins, who right. and comes and recovers it. It's like there's no way on God's green planet that the Bears can turn that from what should be an interception into a positive play. First down Bears. Like that was the game in a nutshell. It really was.
It really was. You know what I was thinking about, Cap and Tom? The special teams, they look like they have a hard-hitting – it's one game, right? But return of DeAndre Carter was really good. They have guys like Homer, who's like running around hitting people. He came in on that drive you're talking about, Cap, ran the hell out of the ball, ran guys over, put his head down. They look like they got a nice when you talk about when we came back, Cap, and we were good in those days, we had a nice core of special teams players: Jason McKee, Brandon Ayanbendejo, Rasheed Davis. Peanut played special teams. I mean, that guy's hustle was unbelievable. We just had a bunch of guys who love to play football, love to be part of the team, and really made the locker room fun to be in. And when I watched that special teams, and it's one game, I don't want to overdo it, but that unit reminded me of those teams where, you heard their pads popping on the field, right? You saw guys getting after, guys who look like they love being there. They love being on special teams, and they're trying to actually make plays and make a difference in the game. And if they can keep that up all year, they might have a special unit.
I think
I got a question.
I think that's one of the positives, too, from this head coach is that he's got these guys that want to play the game like that. And I think you draw the correlation to how Lovey, as you're describing, Olin, he had guys that wanted to play, that played hard and played with joy and played with enthusiasm. And I think that that's one of the things that is a feather in the cap of Coach Eberflus at this point. These guys play for him.
Mm-hmm. So I was with Mercedes Lewis yesterday, and he said there really was no panic. He goes, we really believed we were going to come back in the second half. He said, I've been on teams where like, all right, we're screwed. We got no shot here. He said, we really didn't feel that way.
I got 2 words for you, Cap. I got 2 words for you. Will Levis. That they knew that at some point they were going to get the best of Will, or that Will would give you Will Levis stuff.
Like in 06, Olin, you had a really good football team, and you got to a Super Bowl, obviously. Mm-hmm. In that game at Arizona, I remember watching it at Coach Ditka's restaurant. People are like, what in the F is going on here? At halftime, did you in your gut believe we could do this? Or I don't know, but I'm going to give it everything I freaking got.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we could do it. Now, remember Cap, I mean, I know we're making comparisons, right? But in 2006, we beat the Packers in week 1, 26-0. Mm-hmm. We beat the Detroit Lions in week 2, 34-7. We beat Seattle in week 4, 37-6, right? We beat Buffalo 40-7.
Had a hell of a team.
We thought we could come back because we had stomped teams, right? We were like 6-0, I think, Cap. Like the comparison is not the same, right? Correct. We had it wasn't like we weren't. No, we had offensively, we had a horrible game. But we were averaging like 30 points a game going into that game. Now, I just want to, I know people forget that, but I just want to make sure we understand, if you want to talk about 2005, maybe 2001, okay. But remember now, Buffalo went down 40-7.
Yeah.
And we were 6-0 in that game. Actually, we were 7-0. We had just beat San Fran 41-10. God.
And so when you say,
this is apples and oranges we're talking about here now. We're talking about a rookie quarterback, right? That offensive line we had now. We had Ruben Brown, we had Fred Miller, we had John Tate, we had Roberto Garza, right? We had Moose Muhammad, we had Bernard Berrien, we had Thomas Jones, we had Cedric Benson. Like, we had some guys.
Right. But
you keep comparing us to this team you just watched.
No, I'm not comparing them. I'm just
comparing. No, you are. You're comparing us. You keep saying in 2006. We believe because we were 6-0.
But if you ask the average Bears fan and you just read the numbers, like I remember how good the team was. You went to a Super Bowl. I don't remember that offense winning 41-10, 37.
Do you remember what the NFC Championship game score was?
Yeah, you crushed
39-14.
Crushed them.
Do you remember when we beat Seattle by an overtime? It wasn't like 7-0. It was 27-24.
Right.
Okay. So I make sure we know the score here.
Right. But average Bears fan, it's obviously 18 years ago. We forget a lot of stuff. I don't think they realize how good the offense was back then, the number of points that you put up, because maybe it's because it was Rex. I don't know what the reasoning is, but that's what the average Bears fan thinks.
Now, 2005, right? We went to the playoffs. Carolina beat us in the playoffs. But 2005, the defense was really good, and Kyle Orton started at quarterback as a rookie from Purdue. So, what you're saying, yes, you can do a lot of things with defense and special teams, a lot.
Okay, so as we look at where this is, take us inside the building, both of you, and what they do with Caleb this week to get ready for a hell of a test. A hell of a test.
Mm-hmm. I think you just got to keep, pounding into him that, look, week one is week one. Who cares? It's coming. It's gone. I would want to continue to focus with him on, be sound fundamentally, take your layups. When we have something designed for you to get, there was a play in the game. I thought it was a beautifully designed play where he took a few steps left and then turned around to come to the right. I think that Gerald Everett had the end of the line pinned, and they had DeAndre Swift in the flat, and Caleb just with no pressure in his face airmails it and doesn't make. That's a layup. Just keep harping on him that, listen, take the easy things, be a point guard. There will be time for you to flourish and become Michael Jordan, but in the meantime, just use the guys around you and let them actually accentuate some of the things that you can do, but just play within the confines of the offense. Make sure that your fundamentals are good, your mechanics are good, and just don't lose faith after one game. It's like, that'd be foolish.
Yeah. I think, Cap, you don't have to say much anymore. The great thing about the NFL is you get the film, right? You just keep turning that film on, man. You just keep talking about things you need to improve on. And we talked about earlier, you can't just watch film. You got to see it. You got to actually see what's going. People can just watch film and not really see it. And it's the craziest thing to me about football. What is actually going on the film? What is actually losing games? What are you actually doing? What was the play call? What was the situation? What were they lined up in? What actually stopped that play? What actually did you do, Caleb? Did you take your right drop? The NFL is all about details, man. It's always about doing things the exact way you're supposed to be doing them, and that's what gives you an advantage. So if they coach him that way and they let him know and he buys in, because the focus that you have to play the quarterback position, I couldn't even imagine. Your footwork, the things you got to see the whole field. You get everybody lined up. You got to call plays. That is one tough position. So he's growing here, but the great thing is they have week one. They did struggle. Everyone's got to go back in there and go to work. And we talked about, Cap, me and you, about the relationship between him and Shane Waldron. And now it just has to start to grow.
Yeah, and I would say this. I'm 100% confident he's willing to put the work in. He will put the work in, right? He's not going to look at this and ignore it and not show up for, he's going to put the work in because that's what his DNA tells you about him. And I don't think he'll dwell on it. I think he'll move on from it. But Olin's right. You have to be self-aware. You have to understand where you made your mistakes. You have to go into the lab and you got to fix some of this stuff, but just trust what has gotten you to this point in your career, accentuate it, focus on the details, and just get back to playing football.
Before we get to the eye on the opponent, we'll look at the Houston Texans. One thing, Olin, you said earlier in the game you thought they were running the ball pretty well early. Swift had a 6-yard, a 1-yard, a 6-yard, and then they got away from it. I looked at the snap counts today to get ready for this show again, and I'm seeing Gerald Everett playing double the number of snaps as Cole Kmet, which made no sense to me. And then Mercedes Lewis, who's only here to block. He's not a receiving tight end anymore. He's out there for like 9 snaps. Would you go back to more of a double tight end, smashing the other team in the mouth? What would you do offensively to try and get the run game back going?
Week one in 2006, we had 363 yards. Week 2, we had 383. Anyway, listen, styles make fights, right? Styles make fights. Styles make fights, right? Depends on who you're playing. Right. And like you talked about earlier, Cap, looking at the Texans, their strength is on the outside, the 2 defensive ends, and they're not as big and strong in the middle with Jeffrey Simmons and Sweat. So, yes, you don't have to go to what they call 12 personnel, 2 tight ends this week, but you have to design plays to get yards against the defense you are playing. You have to run the ball against the team you are running the ball against that week. Right. So like I talked about, Coleman Shelton reaching Sweat. That's a block he can make on a guy like Sweat, right? Maybe they feel like they can move the Texans D-lines off the ball, get some vertical push, and run between the tackles a little bit more. Braxton Jones, I thought, did a nice job blocking on Sunday, run blocking, but it's because he played against Arden Key, who would be the easiest guy to run block on the Titans defensive line, right? So what you're talking about is like you don't want to overreact to one game. You want to be very clear-eyed about who was in the middle of their defense, why your run was actually getting stopped when it was getting stopped, what plays you were calling, and what was actually putting you behind the chains.
You may also be forced, Cap, to switch what your personnel is going to be if Rome Odunze is not available to go. I think you may see more double tight end situations. Look, I heard the criticism of Gerald Everett got 7 more snaps than Cole Kmet, and I think that'll actually even out as the year goes on, and I think Cole will get more snaps. The bitch I had about all of it wasn't that. It was that the tight end position was basically forgotten in the passing game. If you go back and watch that film, what you'll see is basically delay routes, pinning the end of the line of scrimmage, blocking, leak out routes. There was really nothing that they implemented with regard to the tight end position in the passing game. And maybe that's a product of, feeling good about your top 3 wide receivers. But I would encourage people to go back and look at it. And those that are upset that Cole didn't get as many snaps as Everett, I think it's a valid question for the offensive coordinator. But my question would be, why isn't the tight end position in general, whether it's Everett or it's Cole Kmet, why isn't it more prominent in what you're trying to do in your passing game route combos? Because it really is not a problem or not an issue.
Let's look at the Houston Texans, our eye on the opponent, our look ahead. It's a really good football team. And 2 years ago, pretty much a train wreck in Houston. They get rid of some of the upper management and they draft C.J. Stroud. He has an awesome rookie year. So all of a sudden now it's C.J. Stroud with Joe Mixon, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, and a stud left tackle in Laramie Tunsil. Your guys' thoughts on the Houston Texans and the challenge that this team brings for the Bears?
A big challenge, right? Because right away we talk about who we gave the game ball to on defense, right? And now you're thinking about, okay, they're going to chip Montez Sweat, and now Laramie Tunsil's one-on-one, right? So where are we going to get our pass rush from? Right? Who's going to put pressure on Stroud? How are we going to get to him now that we have, some people would argue with Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the league, and Darrell Taylor's going to get pressure on Laramie Tunsil at home? I'm going to be an interesting guy. That's going to be interesting to watch for me. Okay, so now like that's usually what happens, right? People give you game balls and everyone celebrates you and you're the best signing in the world. And here comes Laremy Tunsil. It's the NFL, man. That's what happens here. So first thing I think to myself is, where do we get pressure from on Stroud? Because if they help their right tackle, right, and they got a pretty good offensive line. So if they help Titus Howard and they chip Montez Sweat, I don't know if you guys noticed, but I noticed that Billings and Javon Dexter were playing left and right. They weren't playing 3 and nose. They were playing left and right. Billings was playing a 3 technique. They were going left and right. They weren't switching nose and 3 technique. So they considered like Javon Dexter hasn't even really won the 3 technique job. So now, okay, boom. Well, where are we getting our pressure from? Because most of our pressure came from Taylor this past week. Now I got Laremy Tunsil. So now do I have to blitz with Stephon Diggs out there? So that's the key I am watching, Tom, this week. Where the Bears, the problem we think is solved is not solved yet.
Yeah, I would say, what's the best way to defend a high-powered offense that's got tremendous balance the way that the Houston Texans do? Keep them on the sideline. So I would say, beyond all the defensive schemes, if you're better than what were the Bears on Sunday, 2 of 13 on third downs, like they were only, I mean, their play total was tiny because they couldn't stay on the field. So I would suggest to you that their defense will benefit greatly from an offense that it does a better job carrying their end of the load. So if you can establish a running game and you can be better on third downs, what you'll do is you'll help a defense that is going to be challenged significantly by this group. You listed all the weapons, Cap. Like, I don't think that the Bears will ever play a game this year where in this half, in one half, the following will occur. That you'll get the ball at your own 43, your own 48, your own 30, and the opponent's 34. And your third downs will be 3rd and 3, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 1, and 3rd and 5. You will never find yourself in 30 minutes of football with a more advantageous situation in field position and third down situation. You have to make more of it on Sunday night than you did this past Sunday against a lesser team.
OJ, key is what? Running the football. Give me your 2 biggest keys for this game.
Well, it's like getting pressure on Stroud, as we just talked about, right? Where is that going to come from when they put him in the pocket and they decide they're going to double Montez Sweat and Laremy Tunsil is shutting down your other end? Where is your pressure going to come from? And do you have to blitz? And then, like this secondary is very good. Can they play man against the guys that the Texans got, Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell and all these guys? They got weapons, man. So that's my key right there. Where's the pressure going to come from? And then Tom makes a great point. Can the Bears offensive line and Coach Morgan, can they bounce back? Right? Can Shane Waldron find the weaknesses? I love scheme. I love scheme in the run game. What I really think is key is matchups. You have to find your good matchups in the NFL, and you got to run at Darnell Wright, and you got to run at these ends who can rush the passer, but do they want to stop the run? Put hopefully Nate Davis is there. Put Nate Davis, Darnell Wright, Mercedes Lewis, Cole Kmet. Put all the tight ends on the field. Go 3 tight end set. Go over and just smash the ball at this Houston Texans. Try to run the clock. Try to get out there with an ugly win.
Yeah, I think it's, listen, you're played. I think you play keep away as well. I mean, like Olin said, they're going to outmatch you in terms of their offensive firepower. They're a little bit more accomplished, obviously, than you are. I would try to play keep away. And to do that, you got to establish your run. You got to be good on third down. And if you could do that, I think you give yourself a chance. So I think obviously you won a football game against an inferior opponent with excellent defense and special teams. I don't think you go to Houston and beat the Texans with a really good half of defensive football and really good special teams where I don't think that's enough. So your offense is going to have to contribute.
Did anything surprise you guys around the league last week? Like Cincinnati is a almost 10-point favorite. They lose to New England, who I looked at their schedule today and I'm like, who else are they beating? But of course they just won at Cincinnati. Anything surprise you guys? Olin?
I would say that I'm not really that surprised by the Cincinnati situation. If you factor in T. Higgins isn't happy and he wasn't available. Jamar Chase isn't happy and and was available some, but wasn't really ready to go. Trey Hendrickson, their very accomplished pass rusher, wants to be paid. I think there's a bit of disharmony in that locker room. I do also recognize that they're slow starters. Like if you look at Joe Burrow's career, his young career, it doesn't go well in the first few weeks of the season, but then they find their way. I got to be honest with you guys. Last night, as much as I think of the 49ers, and Cap, I think Shanny's the best play caller in the NFL.
Oh, you'd marry him.
That's a bridge too far, but you know what I'm saying. Like I was, even as much as I'm a fan of him and how they do things, I was still shocked at how that machine was rolling in week one against a top 10 defense. That was pretty much fun to watch.
Especially without McCaffrey, right?
Yes.
It was just
Olin, like that rookie, that kid. I mean,
Mason.
Yeah, I don't know what his no, that's the running back, but I think his name is Pooney or something like that.
Oh yeah, the right guard.
The right guard was fantastic.
Yeah, it was something to watch. His first start ever, and just played. And credit Coach Forrester, the offensive line coach at San Fran, for getting him ready to play. But Cap, for me, it's just how consistent the Chiefs are, and just when I watch them play, Lamar Jackson, man. Everyone says, they keep saying he can't win the big one. He just can't beat Mahomes, right? I mean, it is crazy to watch the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Dave Toub and Spagnuolo and those guys when they work and they execute plays, and it is something to watch them. And Chris Jones is just unblockable every time in a big game situation. So that team's consistency, because when we watch New England, we're like, we'll never see something like this again, right? You're watching New England, you're watching Tom Brady, and you're saying over and over again, like, this will never happen again. It's just mind-blowing. And now you're in the middle of another dynasty in an era where there's not supposed to be dynasties.
I'll give you one more quick one, Cap. The Minnesota Vikings are going to be a better football team than I think people initially recognize. They're very well coached on the defensive side of the ball. That offensive coach is very good with his guys, and Sam Darnold in the right situation, I think, is going to play a little bit better than people have seen him play in the past.
And you got Green Bay sitting there. I was just up in Wisconsin over the weekend, and people up there are devastated. They got a break. Jordan Love has got a.
Is that a Wisconsin? Is that a Green Bay hat you have on backwards there?
No, sir. That is a
Chicago
my fault.
Bears, my fault. I thought it was green. That's my fault.
No shot. I would wear Green Bay stuff. By the way, shout out my Northern Illinois Huskies, where I used to be the basketball coach.
I was
at the Irish.
I was at the Illinois game, and I walked out, and some guy was drinking, and he was half drunk, and he told me to score, and I was like, he's messing with me. Like, I did, in Memorial Stadium, you can't really get internet, so I couldn't believe when I came out they actually beat him. That is a huge win for them.
Oh, it was amazing, and the interview with Coach Thomas Hammock after the game, he's sobbing of what it means for his
offensive line guy, Cap.
Yeah,
offensive line guy, man.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
We called their games, you and I did, when Thomas was playing.
He was the running back then.
Yes.
That was about 100 pounds ago, but absolutely.
Yeah, Cap, that's uncalled for.
I just tell the truth. I was a bigger guy back in the day.
Yeah. But the NFL week one, it was you can't miss, man. I'm happy it's back. Everything was, Aaron Rodgers did, them looking that bad was great to watch. So it was just fun. It was fun to watch.
Yes.
It was. All right, we don't ask Olin for a pick, but I ask you, Tommy, give me the score on Sunday night.
I think this is too tough a hill to climb. I think that this is probably a 27-20 or 27-23 victory for the home team.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be 27-20 was the score that I've been given around. So that's where I'm at. I think you'll see improvement out of Caleb. I'm just not convinced that they can go into Houston on Sunday Night Football and beat them. It'd be great if they did.
Yeah.
When the Bears win, everybody eats, man. It is absolutely awesome.
It's
Guys,
awesome.
Thank you again. I'll see you next week, and we'll have 5 remote shows at Hooters going on throughout the season. But looking forward to doing this with you guys all season long again. Have a great night.
Great to
A lot
be
of
back.
sponsors, I noticed, Cap. A lot of sponsors, man. I got a light pocket for how many sponsors you put on that TV there. I tell you that much, man.
Olin telling the truth, as always.
Yeah, that's what I get. You guys have a great night.
That's it, fellas.
Fall is just around the corner. Let the experts at Feldco get your home ready for the cooler temps ahead. Right now, buy one window, get one free. Plus, no interest for 3 years. It's the perfect time to make valuable upgrades to your home and save more money in the process. Our custom windows are built in the U.S. to the highest standards and made to withstand the harsh Midwest weather. Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Some days, you've got big things to care about. Like that. And that. Luckily, the Whirlpool Smart Range automatically updates itself with features like Air Fry. So you can worry less about keeping up with the latest tech and care more about keeping up with the latest trends. Say cheese. Everyday care, Whirlpool.
To see the full line of Whirlpool appliances, shop at Act, pleasing people since 1936.
Feldco Football Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco. For quality windows, siding, and doors, call 866-4FELDCO, Chicago's home renewal experts. Your Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers, the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Hooters. At Hooters, originality isn't just one thing, it's everything. World-famous wings and more, served up by the iconic Hooters girl. Hooters, always original. Dr. Pepper, an American original just like our Chicago Bears. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Special Olympics Illinois. Special Olympics Illinois, so I did. Learn more at SOILL.org. Apt. For the best appliances for football season, shop at Apt. Pleasing people since 1936. Find them at apt.com. 4 Seasons, heating, plumbing, air conditioning, and electric. For all the right reasons, 4 Seasons.